Hey guys, this is Shadney. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Tonight I am just showing you the new exciting thing that's happening. I have started designing some printables that will be available on Etsy, should be tonight. This one specifically was designed, inspired by Peter Pan, never grow up. There's a little label that says second star to the right. There's the alligator, there's a clock. There's just little subtle things that give the hint to Peter Pan. So here I am just showing you all the elements that go along with it after they've been cut out. I've cut almost everything out. There's a few little buttons that I didn't cut out, and there's a couple pieces that my 1-inch hole punch or circle punch like basically destroyed and just ate. So I've got to get a new circle punch for that. But so here's just a good look at everything after it's all cut out, and you get a better feel for what you're getting in the set. So tonight I am scrapbooking this photo of my daughter. She had a surprise slumber party a few nights ago. We went to have dinner with some friends, and then she ended up just staying the night. So this was taken the next morning. They live in an apartment that has a really nice pool, so she got to spend the majority of the day at the pool with her girlfriends. So here we go. I'm just choosing. I showed you in the beginning the few elements that I chose from my set that I've designed, and those are the pieces that I really want to make sure get on the page. So here's my background paper. I thought I was going to use that coral colored paper for the outside edge, but then I decided that the backside was those big colorful polka dots just went along better with the photo and all the colors in that beach towel she's wrapped up in. So I've trimmed it down about 1/2 inch on either side of the page so that you get a 1/4 inch all the way around. I have just inked the edge. It just gives that nice line of distinction between the two layers. Adding a good amount of adhesive. I don't want that page to come off at all. And of course I drop it and get it all stuck down, but it came up pretty easily. I didn't rip anything. Getting it nice and centered and then pressing it down. And then I'm just like playing with those cards, trying to arrange. I want to write my journaling on the happiest things card. So I'm just trying to make sure that enough of that shows that I can get a good amount of journaling in there. Then I'm just kind of playing with the elements, trying to see where I want things. I decided that clock piece, I really just wish it would act more like a paper clip, so I cut just a little bit, not all the way around, just so that that can slide over the top just a hair, so it gives more of that circular feeling while it's up there. And then I'm just kind of messing with the elements again, tucking things back and placing, trying to figure out like exactly what I want this page to look like. I got these nice wood veneer tags. They're Amy Tangerine, I believe, in a set, and I just love that bright colored one. It just worked perfectly with the colors in that beach towel. So again, I'm going through and just inking the edges of everything just so that everything stands out from one another as separate pieces. And I'm making sure to get those edges. The cool thing with that notebook paper looking one is that whenever it's printed, obviously it doesn't have holes in it, but I just used a little mini hole punch and went down the side of that so that it really does look like notebook paper torn out of a notebook. So finished up doing that. Now I'm going around and I'm just adding some of those elements that I know for sure is going to stay there, that little label. So I went ahead and adhered it to the photo. Now I'm thinking, you can see me tapping. I pulled out the 6x6 6x6 paper pad, and I'm trying to figure out what pages I really like going with that. And then I get that core page, and then I go back to that page that I had in the beginning. Now I'm just trying to figure in which order I want them layered. And there you go. I figure it out, go ahead and adhere that down and then trim around it to get just a nice narrow border around that photo. There we go. And then with this next set, I've decided I want the label, I mean, not the label, I want those journaling cards to be between the layers just to give it some more interest, I guess. So I'm trying to decide exactly where I want it, how I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that down, stick the next one down, so you really know exactly what's going to happen before you really get it all stuck together. And they're adding the little clock. And then once I get it all set, I'll use a pencil to mark where I want that other paper to be cut or trimmed down to. But then whenever I'm doing the actual page and all this is together, I can kind of move it around a little bit and decide exactly where I want it. And you'll know exactly how much space you have on either side of your photo and all your layers where you can journal or embellish or add a title or whatever. And this one I didn't really add a title, which I didn't realize till just now, but I think it's fine just on its own. It kind of ends up, that journaling card kind of ends up acting as a title of sorts. So I cut out some of my video here just because I was digging and digging through for paper and nothing really looked good at all. So I just cut out the part where you didn't even see anything happening on the screen. And I found this paper in some of my scraps, and it's got little monstera leaves. And just using that as a little banner piece, and then I'll cut the fishtails in the bottom there. Oh, not yet. Now I will in just a second. And then that just kind of acts as a nice big anchor so that photo and everything's not just floating in the middle of the page. It just kind of balances it out a little bit, I think. Just making sure that point is centered. And then I'll go ahead and adhere all that down, I think, in just a second. I'm trying to figure out, because I really want to use all those elements, but they just don't all end up working out, I don't think. Just play with it a little bit longer. I was going to do a little cluster at the top where those other wood pieces are right now, but then I end up not doing it anyways. And then I move that whole piece up so that the long banner piece, the pink, is actually at the top, and I think that really just helped it anchor down. And then I'll sprinkle those other bits down the bottom. So I'll go ahead and adhere that down because I know for sure that's where I want it. Now it's just about deciding where the embellishments are gonna go. Sorry, you got my noggin right there in the middle. So now I wanted to emphasize that I was going to sprinkle those elements down a little bit. So I pulled out some spray mist and I'm just adding some of that. And it's nice and just a little bit of shimmer and some interest in there. And then I used just a scrap piece of paper to kind of hide those elements. I didn't want that all over the photo specifically, but also that label, I didn't really want it to look dirty. That blue on the yellow would make it nice and green, and it just wasn't what I wanted, so I covered that one up too. So now that I did all that, I'm gonna soak it up just a little bit because some of those dots were a little big, but they actually surprisingly dried really quickly, so I didn't have to worry too much. I didn't smear them or anything, but then I have that blue ink everywhere, so I'm just trying to clean that all up before it like dyes. I don't know if it'll do that for sure, but I was afraid it would dye the table, so I tried to get it all cleaned up. Thankfully that dried so quickly, I can go ahead and set elements on it. It's not gonna mess them up or smear anything. So I'm just playing with all the pieces again, trying to figure out what I want. Pull out some chipboard, and then I'm gonna pull out some wax paper as well and put these elements on the wax paper so that I can move them around before I decide exactly where I want them and they don't get stuck down or tear my paper at all. So yep, there's the wax paper. that I did a popsicle, there's a camera, and just a little banner piece. And then I'm just going to play with those for a little bit, trying to figure out where I want everything. And then I decide that camera piece really is just too big for that area, and I end up not using it in the end. So still just kind of playing with it. And then, yep, there you go. And then pull that camera off. And now I'm trying to keep from getting these little weird spots anywhere where, like the trap space. So I finally get it turned the right angle that I kind of like, and then playing with that ticket again, and I throw that up at the top. I just trimmed that edge off so that it was even with the banner against the edge of the paper. And then I'm playing with some more of those pieces, and then don't end up using it. That's one of those ones I was talking about earlier that the circle punch kind of ate a little bit, so it's kind of messed up on one side. So instead I put another little kind of banner piece that has a word on it. Just going down that ticket and adding the chipboard. And then I accidentally ripped the backing off all the adhesive, so I used that Nuvo adhesive. That stuff is amazing. I love it. I'm gonna have to order another one soon. It's already getting kind of low, but it lasts forever, thankfully, and it dries so quickly, and I haven't had any problems with it at all. So now I'm just pulling out some baker's twine. I want to add just a little bit to those tags, so it gives it some more interest and some more texture on the page. And I think I'm just gonna loop those through, but then the button I end up tying a little bow in. When I loop them through like that, I like to just kind of whoosh them down a little bit behind there, and then either glue them or adhere them behind the tag, just so it has a little, you see the string, but it's not like in the way, and it's still kind of secured. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. I add some foam adhesive to the back of this chipboard piece, and it will kind of pop it up just a little bit. But because I pop it up, I want to keep that wood tag. I want to try to tuck it under there. So whenever I go to glue this with the Nuvo adhesive, it doesn't really want to stick that well. And it's because of the texture of the baker's twine behind it. It just doesn't, it's not flush. But I need it that way because it needs to tuck under that popsicle. So then when I decide it's not really adhering, you can see me hold it down. I'll hold it down for a little while before I finally set something on top of it. So now I'm just fiddling with that one and trying to figure out where I want that placed, because I was gonna tuck it under the edge of that banner piece, but I didn't like that. So now when I'm popping up, it'll hold that baker's twine in place too, which is nice. So yeah, I'm trimming those strings, trying to get all the trash off. So then I realized it's not holding, so I'm holding it again for a while. Yeah, and then I pull off some of that yellow baker's twine. Is gonna be for that little heart piece. There we go. We put the water on top of it to hold it in place. And this one I'm gonna tie in a bow just because of the way the holes are on top of it. And then I'll do the same thing with that one and back it with some foam tape and then adhere it. And for some reason I did 2 layers of foam tape. I don't really understand why. I don't think I was really thinking about it. But there we go. And then trim those ends off of that guy. And then we'll get some tape on it. And there we go. And those little foam tape squares actually came from the Dollar Tree. So you get a pretty big roll for $1, which is nice. And then they're not in the scrapbooking department. They're probably not acid and linen free. It doesn't really bother me because I feel like we put so much on our pages nowadays anyways, it doesn't really matter. But they're in, like, the home goods section or something of the dollar store. So now I've got my little tiny embellishments bucket out, adding some little corkboard hearts. They've got some gold metallic in it, and that'll just bring out the same color and feeling of that paper I used in one of the layers behind the photo. Now I'm looking for some enamel dots or something small and tiny just to add in there. It just needs a little sprinkle of something. And then I think I end up using some teeny tiny little hearts that are recollections from Michael's, which they're amazing. You get a million of them, and I think they were like $2 or something ridiculously cheap. And they've lasted forever. And they should still have them. I'm gonna have to go back and get some more. And so now that I think is just about it. Oh, and then I'm gonna go in and add some more journaling, or not more journaling. I'm gonna go in and add the journaling and just write in, trying to decide where that last little heart's gonna go. And then I realize I need to add the date. So I'm trying to remember the date and count back from the date that I was at to try to figure it out. But I pull out a little roller date stamp, and then I decide to stamp the 11th. I think it actually ended up being the 10th, but it's fine. Close enough. And then I'm going to stamp that actually a couple times. But I pull out some paper towel because I didn't want to mess it up. There was some ink, some extra ink on the edge there, so I was wiping that away so it didn't get everywhere. So that's just about it. I'm going to finish up with the journaling, just add all the things she loved doing that time. You see my head again, obviously. And then at the end, you'll get some close-ups of the page, and you'll get a look at all the full sheets of the journaling cards and embellishments that I've designed. Those will be up on Etsy. And I'll put a link in here. And if you check me out on Instagram, my Instagram handle is @Shadney. And I should have a link to that as well. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. Hopefully I'll have another one up soon. Thanks. Bye.